Hello, welcome to this video by the RC Biker. We're out today, very nice sunny day, and I've got this car in a box that came all the way from China from one of my sponsors, Banggood, and I'll pop the link to this item down in the description below. So if you like what you see, then please be sure to check it out. So this is a very exciting, it's a 1/8 scale, a Nitro Truggy. Features a Force 28 sized engine. I've had a little sneaky look inside the box, and today we're just going to do outer boxing of the car, and then we're going to get this thing started up for the very first time, and then in future videos we're going to do full review and of course bashing of the car. Okay, right, so then let's get this one out of the box. So it comes in this nice box. On this side you can see it says brushless as well, so that tells me that they've obviously got a brushless option. Here it comes, and inside the box this is what we've got. So it's really nicely secured. We've got two sets of wheels, so you need to pop the wheels on. They do that just to save on the shipping box size, etc. The car is strapped down inside the box using cable ties. Let's have a look, see what's in this box first. This is the manual, so have a read through it before you start the car and make sure you're happy with all of its content. You've also got in here the bind plug for your radio receiver as well, so make sure you keep hold of the contents of this bag. Coming out now is the radio. This car uses an FS-GT2 radio. I've been using these radios for about 10 years now. You can get a brand new one of these radios for about £25, and I've never had any issues with them. They're very good range and good quality, so I'm really pleased to see that we've got one of those radios included. Right then, coming out with the car, using a knife just to cut these zip ties, and here he comes. So putting the box to one side, here you can see the car. I really like the red body shell colour. It comes fully assembled. The only few things you need to do is thread the antenna tube, install batteries in the transmitter and the receiver, and obviously pop the wheels on. Okay, so I'm going to pop the wheels on now, and I'll see you in a few moments when that's done. Okay, so they have included for you in this bag this tool, and that is for installing these wheel nuts. So that just makes it nice and easy, because you won't fit the corner of your four-way wrench in there. Because of the way the wheels are, you won't fit it in. So I'm going to go ahead and pop all four on, and I'll see you in a moment when that's done. Okay, so popped all the wheels on now. Make sure you do the wheel nuts up nice and tight, because you don't want those falling off. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we need to thread the antenna tube. So I'm going to remove the body shell, 4 clips to remove it. Again, don't lose the clips because you will need them later. Gently lift off the body shell, and then that's going to expose the underside of the car. And wow, that looks really nice. Lots of aluminium components. We've got a metal tuned pipe here, 125cc fuel tank, waterproof dual stage air filter, pre-installed glow plug with a Force 28 sized engine. Looking at the front and rear of the car, we've got an aluminium bulkhead, aluminium shock tower. Looks really nice. So taking our antenna tube, then they provide this in the little bag with the bind cable. Okay, now that's done, we need to install some batteries into the transmitter. So these this radio here takes 8 AA sized batteries. I'm going to use some Duracell ones. Okay, so just installed the 8 AA sized batteries into the transmitter, and I've also popped 4 AA sized batteries into the receiver system, which is just here. 2 clips to remove, insert the batteries, and you're away. Right, now we're going to check that the electric system is working. So I'm going to turn the steering wheel left and right, and just make sure that the steering is working correctly. On your transmitter system you have got a steering trim, which is this one just here. that is your steering trim. So if you notice that the wheels are not set straight when you're not steering, then you can adjust it there. Next, I'm going to check that the brakes are working. We're just going to roll it along the ground and then use the brake, and you can see the Truggy stops very securely. And if you want to check the front and the rear brakes separately, lift it up, front one's working, lift it up, back one's working, because they do have separate brakes on the front and the back. Okay, next thing we're going to do is start up the engine. So to start up the engine, a few things you're going to need is some nitro fuel. This is a 28 sized engine. I would recommend nitro content above 20%, preferably 25%. We're also going to need a glow plug igniter. I use this sort of igniter, which is a one that runs on a separate battery, so I like to use a separate Li-Poly style battery. You're also going to need a 4-way wrench, or you might need a 4-way wrench if you need to remove the glow plug at all, to either check it's working. Another thing that comes in very useful is a temperature gun, just to check the temperature of the engine throughout the breaking in procedure. So filling up the tank with 25% nitro fuel. I'm going to fill it about 3/4 of the way. Next thing we need to do is prime the engine. Priming the engine means getting fuel from the fuel tank through to the carburetor. So we're going to prime the engine. The way I like to do it is I like to block the exhaust pipe and then pull the pull starter. And again, you're looking for the fuel to come through this fuel line and into the carburetor. So I'm going to block the exhaust and pull the starter. Let's see. Here comes the fuel. There you go, fuel is in there now. I'm going to pull it a few more times. Now I can feel the fuel is in there now because the pull starter has gone just a little bit looser. Now I'm going to pull it a few more times just to get that fuel lubricated round the engine. Lovely. Now what I'm going to do for a moment now is I'm going to turn off the radio system. That's all checked and the engine is primed. I'm going to preheat the engine now using a heat gun. You don't have to do this, but it is recommended. And then I will show you just how easy and how suitable for beginners this awesome 1/8 scale Truggy from Banggood is. Link to it in the description below. Let's go to the heat gun. Okay, so here's my heat gun then. The purpose of preheating the engine is just to ease the stress on the internal components. Nitro engines have a very tight fit when they're new between the cylinder and the piston. So as the engine wears in a little bit, it will lose compression a little bit as it wears in and beds itself in. Just to help it start for the first time, we're going to use a heat gun. Here's the heat gun. I'm going to heat it up and focus my heat around the crankcase area and the heatsink. Okay, great, so I've preheated the engine. And just take your temperature gun and just check. So yeah, I've preheated it up to 80 degrees Celsius, which is fine. So now I'm going to turn the radio on, turn the receiver on, making sure again that everything is set good. I'm now going to insert the igniter and hopefully it will start. Preheated, let's see. It's almost firing, so on the transmitter I'm just going to turn up the throttle trim a little bit just to open up the carburetor just a little bit more. Now that means when you start it, it might rev up, so make sure you're ready to turn it back down again. Okay, so I'm now going to let the new engine just sing for one full fuel tank, and that is tank 1 of the braking in procedure. You can watch the full braking in procedure in the next video on this channel, so please make sure you hit that red subscribe button so that you can see that. Thank you very much to Banggood.com for sponsoring this video. If you like what you see here, please make sure you check this this item down in the description below. Visit the website and have a little look. So far, impression is positive. Started up very, very easily. As you saw there, very easy to set up for beginners. Breaking in videos coming next, and bashing videos as well. Take care for now. See you in the next one.